Hello, everyone. This is Ryan the Ox Stock of Ox Games, and I'm here today with my friend Zach Mitchell, the creator of Elementile. Zach, tell me about your game.
All right. Well, Elementile is a tug of war style grid based card game. And Ryan, I think it'd be best if we just kind of dive right in and walk you through a match.
All right, let's do it. To start us off, we need to have our first player, who's going to be Zach, search for a card, shuffle his deck, and then draw 6 cards. And then the second player, I'm going to get an element of my choice in play, and then do the search for one, shuffle, and draw 6. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So I've already selected my one here just to help us out. Now I know my deck is a fire wind based deck, so I'm going to start with a fire element, and then I'm going to draw 6 additional cards plus my search here. And normally these would be hidden, but I think Zach's going to go easy on me, so I'll just put them up on the table so we can all see what we're doing here. And one more. Perfect.
All right. So my turn, right?
Start us off.
All right. I'm going to sacrifice a card to grab an element. I'm going to be taking a darkness element here. I'm going to use it to summon a zombie. I'll end my turn by drawing 2 cards.
All right. Okay, so Zach has gone through his turn. He ended up developing his board a little bit by getting the zombie out there. So let's go ahead and respond to that. So on our first turn, we're going to choose something to get rid of. And we're going to sacrifice this to the ethereal plane. And we're going to choose to get an element of our choice. So what does that look like? Looks like picking a card from our hand, sticking it into the ethereal plane, and then we get an element of our choice in play. In this case, we're going to go with a fire element, because our deck really loves fire, and getting double of those is going to be very helpful. Now there are 6 basic element types: earth, light, fire, water, darkness, and wind. There's also generic, which is the just gray circle, and that can be paid with any mana color. And then a special one called Triversity, which is an element that is basically like generic, but if we have 3 different element types, then we can get the Triversity cost for free. We don't have to pay it. So on Zach's turn, he got a darkness element, and he used that to cast his zombie. So he depleted the darkness, which uses it for the turn, paid for that 1 darkness cost, and then summoned a zombie. So we're going to do the same thing here. So we chose a card to sacrifice to the ethereal plane. We're going to use that to get a second fire element. And then we're going to use our 2 fire elements. We're going to tap those guys down and play a frenzied flame. As you can see here, we just see the cost in the upper left. We have that filled with our elements. We deplete them for the turn. And now we're able to select where we summon them. When we summon the Frenzied Flame, we can always summon it in our back row, and then we can also summon it wherever we have presence in that row. So in this case, we just have the back row, so we get to choose any of these 4 spots. Let's say we had advanced our Frenzied Flame and then wanted to cast a second one. In that case, we could go a row deeper as well. So we can cast in either of the first 2. We also have the option to summon over one of our other units. In our case, we are going to summon the Frenzied Flame adjacent or across the table from the zombie, because I think that we are better than the zombie and we can go beat up the zombie and win. Then to end our turn, we will draw 2 cards. Here goes Zach.
All right. So at the start of my turn, I'm going to replenish my element. I'm going to make another sacrifice to get another darkness. And then that Frenzy Flame is scary, but I want the board position, so I am going to have my zombie advance towards the Frenzy Flame. I'll use my new position to summon a skeleton right next to my zombie. Once again, I'll end my turn by drawing 2 cards. And it's over to you.
All right. So on my turn, first things first, let's refresh our elements. So I will untap these guys. Oh, looks like I drew a card in my hand. Then we are going to go to Summon Phase 1. In Summon Phase 1, I have the ability to sacrifice a card in our hand to get an element, which is definitely going to be something we're going to do this turn. I can play units and spells, and then I can use non-active abilities. So we don't have any of those non-active abilities just yet. We're definitely going to be taking advantage of getting a new element. Let's see. I don't think we're going to need this guy, so let's get rid of him for now. And this time we're going to get a wind element because we want to be able to play some of these wind cards in our hand as well. And then we're going to tap our 3 elements here, and we're going to play a griffin. We're going to play our griffin right here. That seems like a good spot for him. Okay, next we're going to go to our action phase. So for each unit, we get to activate him, meaning we get to move him, use any of his active abilities, and then attack. And he has to move before he attacks, and the active abilities can be used at any point during the unit's action. So we're going to move our Frenzied Flame up, and then we're going to attack. So to attack, we use his attack edge here. And with this case, he is facing the zombie in the front, so he's going to use his front attack edge. Let's go over some combat math here. So we have the Frenzied Flame, who has a casting cost of 1 fire plus 1 generic, 4 health, indicated by the heart, 0 armor, indicated by the shield, and 1 movement, indicated by the directional arrow. He also has 4 attack edges. The attack edges are these triangles along the edges, and those are the directional attacks that he'll be using on the field. So in this case, we're going to be attacking a zombie with 2 attack forward, when we're going to be hitting zombies 0 armor and 2 health. So as armor might imply, it's going to reduce our attack damage. So our attack damage is reduced by the zombie armor, and then the rest of it's dealt to health. When a unit has no health, it dies and goes to the graveyard. And units do not heal. So in this case, we do 2 damage against 0 armor, and doing 2 damage to the zombie will kill him. All right. So with the zombie dead and to the graveyard, we now get an attack token on our Frenzy Flame. Attack tokens are going to reduce the armor of our unit by 1. Attack tokens are removed at the beginning of a turn. We've attacked. We've gone through our action phase. We've earned an attack token here, which means that the Frenzied Flame is going to be a little more vulnerable until our next turn. Now, our Griffin was just played this turn, and since he was just played, he can't move, but he can attack. In this case, there's no one in range for him to attack, and since he can't move, we're not going to be doing anything with him. Now we go to our summon phase 2, where we could summon units, but they wouldn't be able to attack because we've already gone past that phase. We have no more elements left, so we're just going to draw 2 cards and end the turn.
All right. I'm going to untap my elements here. Make another sacrifice. Grab a light. And then I'm going to go to combat first. So we're going to go to the activation phase. Activate my skeleton. Go ahead and take revenge for my zombie that was slain, and prey upon this vulnerable Frenzied Flame. Attack back for 3, which would normally not be enough to kill the Frenzied Flame. But because of his -1 armor, and his armor value now being negative, I actually do 1 bonus damage, which is going to knock out the Frenzied Flame.
So we're going to just put him in the graveyard, get rid of that attack token.
Then we're going to move on to the second summoning phase. So I'm going to use my presence on the board here to summon a zombie a little bit deeper than my starting row. And then I'm going to go ahead and soften up the last remaining threat on this board with a spell called Life Drain. That's going to do 2 armor-piercing damage to the Griffin, leaving it at 2 health remaining. And that is the end of my turn. I will draw 2 cards.
So our turn, we're going to start by untapping and refreshing all of our elements. If we had any attack tokens, we would remove those now. So now we're ready to go with Summon Phase 1. We both have a skeleton and a zombie here. But our Griffin has a different movement type than the zombie and skeleton. You can see there with their paw prints. Let's get rid of this guy. We're going to grab a fire, because I think this hand needs lots of fire. And actually, before we move our Griffin, let's go ahead and cast a spell of our own. So we're going to cast 2 fire for a burn. So burn deals 5 damage to target unit. It's a burst spell, and we're going to target that on the skeleton. Spells can only be played during your summoning phases, just like units. The first spell type is a burst spell. This is a single effect use, and then it's discarded to the graveyard. So that was just like the 2 spells that we've used so far. There's also an attach spell, which goes and attaches to a unit in play, and remains in play as long as that unit does. And a banner spell, which provides benefits for the rest of the game. Now in this case, of these 2 spells, spells are normally affected by armor just like unit attacks. So our burn spell, which dealt 5 damage, would have been reduced by any armor on the skeleton. But Life Drain deals armor-piercing damage, indicated by the shield and broken by a sword icon. And armor-piercing damage ignores armor. So any positive armor value is considered to be 0. So in this case, we used our burst, and we put it out there just to show that we were targeting the skeleton. The skeleton died. It's a burst spell, so it just is going to go to the graveyard. Then we're going to go to our activation phase. And I'm going to use my Griffin, who can fly. And flying lets him move diagonally. So a unit has flying if it has the symbol, little wing symbol behind its movement. And those units can move diagonally as opposed to just cardinally. But they can also move cardinally. So this guy has a lot of movement options. We could have moved him here, 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 and basically anywhere in this sphere around him. So we're going to want to move right here so that we can attack the zombie for 2 damage, killing him. All right. Now, we only have 2 elements left, and we're not going to want to play any of this just yet. So we're going to overcharge one of our elements. Now, overcharge is a mechanic we can use when we have leftover mana. Once per turn, we can deplete an element, turn it face down to indicate that it is now overcharged. And then until we next use this element, it can be used for a while. And then it'll de-overcharge and just become its normal element type. And to end our turn, we'll draw 2 cards.
All right. So my board was totally wiped out on that turn. We're going to have to rebuild. Luckily, we're playing dark, and some of our units can actually come back from the graveyard, which we're about to do. But first, we need to make another sacrifice, get more darkness. And we're going to take a look at our graveyard here and return the skeleton back to our hand for 1 darkness. And then once he's in our hand, we're just going to summon him right back to the field for 2 more darkness. We're going to put him opposite the Griffin. The Griffin can't quite take him out. He's not strong enough. And then for our last remaining light element, we're going to provide him some backup. So we're going to summon a medic to the field to help try and mitigate damage from that the skeleton might take from this Griffin. And that's going to be it for us. We're going to draw 2 and pass the turn over to Ryan.
All right. So first things first, we're going to refresh all of our elements. We're going to delete all of our attack tokens on our units. And then we're going to go to summon phase 1. All right. I think we're going to get rid of one of these because we have enough of them. And we're going to do that so we can get another wind element, because we're eventually going to want to cast some of these more wind intense cards. So we're going to want to get up to that. Then let's see here. So the medic has all sorts of abilities to heal up and protect his neighbors, but he doesn't attack very hard. Now, our Griffin only has 2 health left and is in danger of being killed by the skeleton, which has that 3 forward attack. So why don't we just move over here so that the skeleton can't just move forward and kill our Griffin. But in this space, I think we can summon someone a little stronger. So we're going to use our overcharged element to provide a wind, and then it returns back to its normal fire state. And that will give us the mana we need. Oh, we actually don't need all of it. Oh, you don't need all the fire. There we go. I'm going to cast Jirok here. And he's got 4 HP and 1 armor, so he'll be able to survive anything that the skeleton tries to do to him, at least for 1 turn. And then using our last element remaining, we will go ahead and overcharge that one again so that we continue to have more options in the future there. And we'll draw 2 cards to end our turn.
All right. You moved your Griffin over. Movement, my one weakness. Gonna go ahead and untap all my elements here. I'm gonna make another sacrifice, get yet more darkness. We're really on that darkness tip. And then I'm going to be aggressive with my skeleton and try to move him up to get me a little more board space. And I am going to attack Jirok, because at the end of this turn, his response will not be able to remove my skeleton. So we're just going to get the free 2 damage on him. Might as well. So now that the skeleton's advanced, we're going to slip the medic behind him. It's a much more favorable position for the medic, because now he's not vulnerable to attacks, because the skeleton is kind of in front of him, and he can go ahead and use his reaction to prevent damage to the skeleton. And if the skeleton ever gets hurt, in place of an attack, the medic can go ahead and heal him. So I like that position. And then next to the skeleton, we're going to fill in the space, tap all 5 of our elements here to play a Relentless Dead.
Oh, more skeletons.
And that's going to be it for us. We're going to draw 2 cards and end our turn.
Well, Zach, you may have played a lot of units there, but those are nice and weak and very flammable. I think I got just the answer for him. So let's get rid of this. I think we're going to want to get even more wind. And now we're going to use a big explosion spell. Now, grid spells work kind of just intuitively how you think they might. You can't rotate them. They have to go like kind of as shown from your perspective onto the field. And we're just going to target a space that we want to shoot out our explosion. So in this case, we're going to pay the cost here. So it costs 2 red and 2 others. So let's go fire, fire, wind, wind. And we're going to cast it right on these 4 squares right here. So it deals 5 damage to the row closer to me and 4 damage to the row away. So it's going to blow up absolutely everything here. And it does exactly 5 damage to the Relentless Dead, which is nice. We're going to just totally clear his board.
Oh no.
Well, that's nice and convenient because we haven't even had our activation phase yet. So we're going to have a chance to attack him too. Now, we still have 2 elements left, and we're going to use that to cast Hasten. Hasten is a burst spell that gives all of our allies a one-time +1 movement, up to a maximum of 2 movement for this turn. And that works really well with Durak because his passive is whenever a unit we control moves, it gets +1 to all of its attack edges for this turn for each tile it moved. So by giving our guys a little extra movement, we'll be able to get right up in Zach's face and deal a bunch of damage. So first we'll activate our Griffin, and our Griffin normally has 1 movement, but now he has the bonus +1, so he's going to go 1, 2. For doing that, Durak will give him +2 to all of his attack sides, and then he's going to attack Zach using his forward attack, because he's in one of the 2 center rows, for 2 + 2 damage, hitting him for 4. So we've dealt 4 out of his 10 life, and then we're going to activate our Durak, and we're going to move him 1, 2, and then because he's in the corner pocket here, he attacks with one of his side attacks. Let me go see if I can find the reminder on that one. Yeah, so because he's in one of the side attacks, he's going to use his side. Now, his side attack is already quite strong at a 5, but he gets his own passive benefit, and he moved twice this turn. So he's going to attack for 7 using that side attack. And 7 + 4 is 11, meaning Zach has taken more than 10 damage and is dead.
No.
And that's the game. So obviously we've, constructed it a little bit to make it smooth, but do remember the basics of the turn order here. The phases of the turn: start of turn, refresh your elements, remove all attack tokens from your units, move to summon phase 1, where you can sacrifice an element to the ethereal plane to get an element. You play units and spells, and you can use any of your non-activated abilities, so such as grave abilities like getting the skeletons and zombies back out of the graveyard, or similar things. Then we go to the action phase, and you activate each unit one at a time. Remember that you move before it attacks, and that you can't move on your first turn, but you can attack on your first turn that a unit is summoned. Then we go into a summon phase 2. So this is exactly like summon phase 1. If you didn't sacrifice for an element earlier in the turn, you could now do it. And you can also play units and spells. And then to end your turn, draw 2 cards. So I hope you've enjoyed this quick overview of Elementile, and we look forward to playing with you.
Thanks for joining me, Ryan. And I look forward to seeing everybody out there playing my game.
Sounds good. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye for now.